You won't believe the storm that just hit Meghan Markle's carefully crafted image. It all started so innocently. Just another polished birthday post. You know the kind. A glowing photo, a perfectly curated caption, and comments turned off so no one could rain on the parade. The caption read, "A toast to Meghan Markle," like the internet was supposed to unite in applause. But oh no. The internet had other plans. While Meghan was celebrating herself on her 44th birthday, her ex-husband, Trevor Engelson, was quietly lighting a match that would burn through that whole fairy tale. And he didn't go on TV. He didn't drop some juicy tell-all book. He didn't even put dramatic music behind it. Nope. He just uploaded a single, calm, almost casual video on a small industry platform. No drama in his voice, no tears, no revenge. Just a man who, you could tell, had nothing left to lose. That's what made it so dangerous for Meghan. Within hours, that video was everywhere, and people weren't sharing it because he was loud or messy. They were sharing it because he was calm, like a man who had just woken up from a very long, very strange dream and finally decided to speak. And when he spoke, oh, the internet gasped. Trevor completely tore apart the image Meghan had spent years building. The graceful humanitarian, the underdog turned duchess. According to him, that woman wasn't real. She was a character, a role Meghan had perfected, not just for Hollywood or the press, but even for royalty itself. Trevor compared their marriage to living inside a never-ending audition. Every smile rehearsed, every gesture planned, even the spontaneous moments scripted. The charm was studied, the empathy was performed, but the ambition? That part was raw, sharp, and very, very real. He said that even in their early Los Angeles days, Meghan wasn't dreaming of success. She was engineering it. Not hoping for a break, building one. She studied red carpet behavior like it was an Olympic sport, tweaked her wardrobe, her speech patterns, even her laugh. Not to feel better about herself, but to make herself more castable. And when she landed her role on Suits, Trevor swears it was like a switch flipped. Suddenly, friends, mentors, even family members started disappearing from her life. Not because of drama, just replaced, swapped out for people who could boost her image. And Trevor? He went from being her husband to just a background character in the story she was writing. One story he told really shook people. Meghan, fresh into Suits, told him point blank, either move to Toronto full-time and ditch your career, or this marriage is over. And it wasn't emotional. It was cold, calculated. Trevor said she already knew what she'd do if he refused. No tears, no fight, she just moved on. He described how she erased their marriage before it was even officially over, unfollowing people, moving money around, deleting photos. By the time she filed for divorce, the cleanup was already done. And here's the part that really got under people's skin. Trevor didn't sound bitter. He sounded free, like he'd finally accepted he'd been written out of her story and had decided to pick up his own pen again. Meanwhile, Meghan's birthday post, her little self-tribute, stayed right there online. Comments still off. The internet, however, was having a field day. Because if Trevor was telling the truth, even just a little, then everything Meghan had built, every speech, every interview, every teary podcast moment, started to look less like heartfelt truth and more like calculated branding. And Trevor didn't just accuse her of being cold in relationships. He laid out what sounded like a blueprint, a strategy, a step-by-step climb to the top. He claimed Meghan practiced everything, not just her acting lines, her reactions for interviews, her poses for photos, even casual conversations with fans or reporters. Trevor said it was like watching someone create a character from scratch. The character? Meghan Markle, the relatable underdog who beat the odds, survived the cold British monarchy, and married a prince for love, not status. But according to Trevor, this wasn't reactionary. She wasn't just adjusting to fame, she was preparing for it. Every move, every friendship, every romance, part of the plan. One moment he described really drove it home. She would literally practice her red carpet wave in the mirror, not out of nervousness, but like a coach reviewing game tape. She'd watch old interviews with top actresses, studying exactly how they answered tough questions, how they smiled when insulted, how they laughed off awkwardness. Then came Suits, and with it, a whole new Meghan, new wardrobe, new friends, new rules. Trevor said she started evaluating people not by how much she liked them, but by their value. Could they get her into the right rooms? Could they help her brand? If not, they were cut off. No fight, no explanation, just gone. And he swears the same thing happened in their marriage. She stopped referring to him as her husband in public, then in private. Then she stopped speaking to his family entirely. He even remembers her laughing once when someone asked if she was married. Not in a mean way, but like the thought of that old life was already a minor inconvenience. And here's where it gets icy. Trevor said her exit from their marriage was as meticulous as a film shoot. She cleared out personal items before the breakup, unfollowed mutual friends, made sure there was no mess to clean up. By the time she told him it was over, the damage had been done months earlier, in total silence. And then came the final cut. Move to Toronto, leave your career behind, or we're done. No compromise, no discussion, just a line in the sand. Trevor stayed in LA, and that was that. What's chilling is that Trevor didn't even sound mad about it. He sounded like a man who had finally accepted that he was never part of her endgame. His role was done, and she wrote him out cleanly, like a character who had served his purpose. While Meghan was busy posting her little self-love shrine with comments locked tighter than the crown jewels, the internet was already pulling up receipts. And when I say digging, I mean people were going full CSI. Old classmates started talking, former co-workers. Even clips from interviews years ago were being dragged out, put side by side and scrutinized. And the picture forming? Not the fairy tale Meghan had sold for so long. The deeper people dug, the more it started to look like a campaign. A former casting agent even came forward anonymously to back up what Trevor was hinting at. They said Meghan wasn't just ambitious, she was strategic. She wouldn't just show up to auditions. She'd come armed with research on the producers, intel on the other actresses, and a clear plan to outshine every single one of them. This wasn't desperation. This was execution. She knew exactly what people wanted to see, and she served it before they even asked. Trevor's video became the match that lit a chain reaction. Blogs that used to gush over Meghan's wellness tips suddenly turned critical, reposting old interviews next to her newer ones. And the inconsistencies? Oh, they were subtle at first. A timeline shifted here, a detail changed there. But soon, it all started to look like one massive rewrite of her own history. And that's when the conversation took a sharp turn, straight toward Prince Harry. Because here's the question everyone was suddenly asking. If Meghan allegedly planned her way through Hollywood, what did that mean about her entry into the royal family? Trevor wasn't shy. He claimed Meghan used to joke about the royals long before she even met Harry. He remembered her sarcastically mocking old castles, outdated traditions, and this one made jaws drop, calling the monarchy a racist museum with tiaras. Now, none of that version of Meghan made it to Oprah. There, she played the wide-eyed outsider, shocked and hurt by the coldness of royal life. But Trevor's version? He says Meghan knew exactly what she was walking into. She didn't see the royal institution as a mystery to be discovered. She saw it as a system to be used, manipulated even. And when Harry came along, Trevor implies this was no accidental love story. In his words, she didn't just fall for a prince, she found the perfect co-star, someone with a rebellious streak, someone already at odds with the palace, someone ready to walk away. To Meghan, Harry wasn't just a husband. He was the next phase of the brand, a wounded, defiant royal she could stand beside in their big us against the world storyline. After Trevor's bombshell, it felt like the internet collectively leaned back and said, wait, what if this has been the plan all along? People started connecting dots that had been there for years but no one had paid much attention to. The rapid shifts in her inner circle, the perfectly timed press appearances, the sudden pivots in her personal narrative whenever the spotlight changed direction. And once that suspicion set in, it was like no amount of glossy PR could glue the cracks back together. For Meghan, this was more than just bad press. It was a threat to the foundation she'd built. Her whole appeal rested on being authentic, relatable, the survivor of an unforgiving royal system. But if Trevor's story was even partly true, then maybe the royal system wasn't the villain. Maybe it was just the latest stage for her performance. The saddest, and maybe the most brutal part, Trevor never once sounded like a man trying to hurt her. If anything, he sounded resigned, like he'd made peace with the fact that he'd been written out years ago. And that's why his words cut so deep. Because when someone isn't screaming or pleading, but simply laying out the truth they've been holding on to, people listen. And they did. In a way Meghan probably never imagined. By the time the dust settled, her birthday post was still sitting there, the comments locked, the likes invisible. But it looked less like a celebration and more like a monument to the image she'd spent years creating. And maybe, if Trevor's telling is right, years erasing others to protect. In the end, the takeaway wasn't just about Meghan and Trevor. It was about how tightly a story can be controlled, until one person decides to tell theirs. And in this case, that one quiet, calm voice may have just changed everything.